It's on all NBA fans' minds. And could one option be a return to the Bay with the defending champs? Steph Curry said a few weeks ago that he was happy with the current roster, and Bob Myers offered similar sentiments this week. He said, I like our team. I like where it's at. I want to give the guys a chance to do it again. Very simple, straight to the point. And now we welcome in our NBA reporter, Dave McMenamin. Dave, my first question on this, honestly, is why do people even think that this is realistic, that these guys would want that old thing back?
Well, Monica, when you think about it, even though Kevin Durant doesn't have a no-trade clause, if he was to be traded from the Nets, you figure they would be his partner in that trade. And you start to extrapolate, where would it make sense for KD? Obviously, he'd want to compete for championships, and where would he be comfortable? Well, we all know what he did in Golden State the last time around. I think that's why people tried to fill in the dots and lead to that scenario. But for the Warriors, you would say, they could probably put together some sort of package that would at least have Sean Marks listen. Kuminga, Wiseman, Moody, Wiggins, Poole, all those young pieces, that would at least intrigue the Nets to have a conversation. But it seems to be that the Warriors are focused on looking forward, not looking backwards, and try to rehash those teams that they had with Kevin Durant as part of their big three.
So how much of this is just kind of like the Warrior way, if we call it? Like, they told the great story during the finals of Myers walking past Steph, KD, and Draymond, and they're like, you guys are at the same table you're always at. It's so rare for guys to have this. And so now, as the guys you mentioned, they're looking to do it with the future. Is that sort of just what their way is going to be?
I think so. I mean, obviously, the window, if those young pieces pan out, gets extended by years and years if it works out. You can continue to have this dynastic run. Kevin Durant, I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff anytime soon. He's not going anywhere in terms of being a dominant player, but he's 34 years old. We're talking about prospects in their 20s. And so if it does work out that way, there can be sustainable success for the Golden State Warriors into the 2030s, perhaps. Obviously, they're going to need to find out who the number one linchpin will be when Steph Curry finishes up his brilliant career. But I think that's where the thinking is here. And also, part of the reason why we're talking about KD and the Warriors is this trade request came on the heels of them winning the championship. So perhaps there were some wistful emotions from KD looking at that group win and saying, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have left them so quickly.
Oh, man, shoulda, coulda, woulda. They will trip us all up in life. All right, let's go Southern California now. We go to the Lakers, where there is still no new developments on their pursuit of Kyrie Irving. Rumors started to swirl about LA's interest in reuniting LeBron and Kyrie after the aforementioned KD request out of Brooklyn. All right, so with no new point guard in the near future for the Lakers, Dave, what do the Lakers fans hope to see from Russell Westbrook, who they're probably going to run it back with, under new coach Darvin Ham?
If Russell Westbrook is on this roster and they hope to have better success or any success compared to last season, it's going to come down to the perimeter. Both how he defends the perimeter and how he connects on shots that are created by LeBron James that give him wide open looks beyond the arc on the perimeter. Those were two terrible parts to his game a season ago. And obviously that should be part of every conversation he's having with Darvin Ham when it comes to finding a way to fit in and help this team next year. If he can defend and be a initial point of thwarting defense when the head of the snake is coming at the Lakers defense, and then on the other end, if he can make open shots, that'll make his fit exponentially better than it was last year.
All right, speaking of open shots that need to be made, who else are they targeting in free agency? The Lakers, that is.
I mean, we've heard Darvin Ham say it. We've heard Rob Pelinka say it. This team is still lacking shooting to be a top-tier contender in the Western Conference. The problem is right now they have 13 roster spots filled. There's 2 spots open. But all the shooters on the market when it comes to free agency, they're not on a team for a reason, because more likely than not, they do one thing really well, like spread the floor, but they don't necessarily defend well enough to get minutes. And so they'd have to look to the trade market. And the guys we just saw on video there, Eric Gordon of the Rockets and Buddy Hield of the Pacers, I've reported for weeks now the Lakers have interest in trying to find a trade package for both of them. I'm of the opinion, though, they will not pull the trigger on a deal like that until they know absolutely for sure that Kyrie Irving cannot happen and will not happen.
Really quickly, Dave, any chance that Kyrie moves before KD? I got like 10 seconds.
Monica, it's all about KD first. The Brooklyn Nets need to figure out KD before they will be willing to make any sort of move involving Kyrie Irving.
Copy that. Thank you, my friend Dave McMenamin, joining us from LA. This just in the end. The longest running rivalry among two best friends in the WNBA history, I should say, is nearing its end. Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi meet tonight in Phoenix for what will be their last time in the regular season. Of course, they could run into one another in the playoffs. Golly, man, so much legendary basketball there. Your WNBA scoring champ, scoring leader, your WNBA assist leader. Two women that have done nothing but win in this league. And of course, you look at the gold medals that they've racked up together representing Team USA. Congratulations to both. I'm sure it will be a competitive game because that is who they both are.
We had a beautiful show laid out for you that was supposed to come on in about an hour. And then the NBA happened because Kevin Durant has requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets.
This is Kevin freaking Durant. There was a sense of inevitability that this day was coming.
Woj has reported Phoenix is a possible place.
Bridges, possibly DeAndre Ayton in a sign and trade.
But I have to tell you, my phone has been exploding.
More than half the league has already called Brooklyn.
This trade is going to be so massive. Talent and picks and swaps.
Everyone on their roster is going to be available.
This has to go down as one of the most epic failure in the history of this league, does it not?
I had to ask the question.
And Kyrie and Bron in LA. I'll retire.
So that was 3 weeks ago, and for all of us that crave news, right, waiting for Kevin Durant to get traded is like waiting for the 6th car to come. You know the subway's coming, but you just don't know when, and it's hot, and it smells, and that's what I feel like now. Brian, that metaphor went way off the rails. I want to start with you here. What is going on in Brooklyn?
Well, my phone is no longer exploding, Malika. It has gone quite quiet on this front.
I can text you.
One of my favorite pieces of information that Woj gave us in those first hours was that calls were coming back to up offers to Brooklyn even before they had gotten a response from the Nets to reject the offer. But the truth is, we truly have a one-of-a-kind situation on the trade market. Durant's price is so high that nobody can afford to pay it. Because if you execute a trade that makes your team weaker, then the point of you even calling to acquire Kevin Durant is failed. So here we have something that's extremely valuable that nobody wants to buy at its price. So when that happens, two things usually happen in the market, in the supply and demand world. One is the price either gets lowered, or two, it comes off the market. And so right now, what we have is everybody waiting for the price to get lowered as the Nets mull taking it off the market. And as of right now, as I put my ear to the ground in the NBA, I'm not hearing anything changing as far as the demand phase of this process.
So Legs, you've lived the NBA life. Is there any urgency to get this deal done before the season starts, in your estimation?
I really don't think there is. Actually, there might be more risk for the Nets, to be honest with you, because they might make the wrong deal. And that's what Brian's alluding to. This is so complicated and so tricky because the player we're talking about, and the Nets still have him under contract. So there is that possibility that he and Kyrie come back, they don't make any moves, and they start playing, and they get hot out of the gate. And who knows how they feel about the situation then. And then maybe Sean Marks is thinking that might be in their best interest to do it because the market won't change for Kevin Durant. In other words, it won't become a buyer's market the closer you get to the trading deadline. Teams are going to still go all in whenever that time comes and somebody's going to pull the trigger on that trade. They're going all in, whether it's now, whether it's right before the season, or whether it's in February. It doesn't matter. So there's more risk to make a bad deal now. Get back the haul that you have to get for this guy because it's the one chance you'll ever trade a player of this caliber.
Sean Marks is such a smart basketball mind, a smart roster constructor. It doesn't seem like he knows he doesn't need to be in any rush to make this deal. Brian Windhurst, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on NBA Today. Tim, please don't go too far, because still to come, plenty of support was shown in recent